So, what separates a struggling elopement photographer from the ones hitting six figures with dream clients? It's not luck, talent, or even experience. It's strategy, mindset, and a few key habits. So, today I'm breaking down the 5 traits that make the biggest difference so you can start implementing them now. Welcome to Stoked, the podcast that helps adventure elopement photographers hit 6 figures and beyond in their businesses without hustling on social media. I'm your host, Megan MacPhail, a former burnt-out emergency veterinarian that quit my hard-earned career to become an elopement photographer. Now I'm living a life I absolutely love, full of travel, adventure, and financial abundance, and I am hell-bent on helping you do the same. Are you ready to start booking out your calendar with dream couples in breathtaking locations and feeling genuinely stoked about your elopement photography business, life, and bank account? Then let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, it's your host, Megan MacPhail.
And your co-host, Todd Reedy.
And today I'm breaking down the 5 traits of highly successful elopement photographers. And there's a lot to pack into these 5. I'm probably going to go on some tangents because I could write a whole textbook on this, but I wanted to make it as fun and streamlined as possible. The first one is really, really important and gets overlooked all the time because so many photographers want to travel and shoot anywhere and want to go out to all the destinations. But the most successful photographers really pick one location and understand the clients that want to elope in that location and double down on that location before they strategically expand into others. So I really want you to focus on that because you cannot just put, as much as we all would love to, you can't just put a airplane in your Instagram bio and just get booked everywhere. You really need to be an expert in the locations that you serve. So you need to choose one location and get really good at that location and serve the clients that want to elope in that location really, really well.
And a little foreshadowing, we'll talk more about it later, but having that one location is how you're going to probably make the vast majority of your money. You know it well, you know how to get there efficiently, you know where to stay, reasonably priced.
Or maybe it's local.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is that if your number one location is local, that is where you're going to make the most bang for your time and for your buck because you won't be having to pay all these travel expenses.
Yeah. But even if you do have to travel for it, because, we have people who live in Alabama who mainly shoot elopements in Arizona, or people who live in Michigan that shoot in Hawaii, and that's okay. But the better you understand that location, the better you can serve your clients, the easier planning is going to be, and the better experience you're going to be able to give your couples because things happen. You need backup plans. You need to be able to pivot. You need to collaborate with local vendors. You need to help your couples find Airbnbs or places to eat, So like this idea that you're just going to work everywhere and have to start from scratch in every single location that you work, A, is stressful AF. And B, is unrealistic. So really getting to know a location, focusing on that one location, making sure you're getting bookings and income from that location, and then strategically expanding is one of the things that highly successful elopement photographers do. And this is repeatable. This is how some of your favorite Insta-famous photographers have started, and it's not something that you can really bypass. So being everywhere isn't better, and being very specific in the location that you target first is non-negotiable. It's what every successful elopement photographer does. And then you can add them on. Like, I love telling my story of how I started in Colorado, and then I branched out to Zion, and then Moab, and then New Mexico, and then Arizona, and then Hawaii and Iceland. It was strategic. But you can't just start booking everywhere all at once. Number 2 is having a killer website that works like a 24/7 salesperson. And we've done podcast episodes on how you can improve your website, but this is also a non-negotiable. Your website has to build trust. It has to attract people who want to invest in their elopement experience. It has to position you as an expert. It's got to show your personality. You can't just throw a bunch of photos on there and talk about how much you love elopements. You got to stand out from the crowd, mainly just by being yourself. But your website should be working behind the scenes at all times to basically sell your services, communicate your value, and connect you to the right people. Your website cannot be an afterthought. If it is an afterthought and your first thought is like posting reels on Instagram, then delete Instagram and work on your website. Go back to our other podcast episode about all the things that you could do to improve your website right now and treat it like the salesperson it's supposed to be. It's supposed to sell your services.
Megan, do you need to invest $10,000 in website branding and a new website or a redo to be successful?
That is an excellent question, Todd, and not one that I knew that he was going to ask me.
So the reason why I ask is, as new businesses or even established businesses, there's only so much money to be spent around.
Mm-hmm.
And you may think like, oh, my website isn't good enough. Megan's telling us we have to have an on-point website. But are those dollars better spent elsewhere or saved? So Megan, do people need to spend thousands of dollars on a website to get it to convert and to like really show and sell their services, do you think?
No, that is the important thing that I want to get across for sure. Because I have spent $8,000 on a website. I've spent $12,000 on a website. And I've spent $200 on a website. And I probably booked $700,000 worth of elopements on my $200 website. You do not have to go through a big rebrand and get a logo and hire someone else to make your website. There's amazing cheap templates out there that you can get. You don't even need a logo. Like, you really don't. You can just like type your name at the top of a website. Like, I see this so often that it hurts my heart. People who are not getting inquiries and bookings and not making money, then investing in this huge rebrand and being so excited about it and posting about it and being like, oh, now I'm going to make all this money. And that's 99 times out of 100 is not the problem. You don't need a big fancy website and logo.
And Megan loves branding. She loves fonts. She loves colors and like being on brand. But
it's not what's paying the bills and getting bookings. Yeah. And I do. I love branding. Like, I want to start new businesses just so I can hire somebody to do all the branding. And Todd makes fun of me, and he knows as soon as we walk into a place if I'm going to be like, oh my God, the branding is so cool. Like, I love it. But that's not going to sell your services. If you're not tracking things, then spending a whole bunch of money on this whole fancy website that nobody sees is not a good business move. And I see it all the time. So if you are one of those people who spent a ton of money or is in the process of spending a ton of money on a brand new website, it's not necessarily going to change your business without doing some of these other things. And we spent $12,000 on a rebrand for Hazel and Lace. And I still have to make some major adjustments to it because it is not converting the way my old $200 website converted. So I think another thing that people spend or invest in their website for is SEO. But SEO is really a long-term strategy that requires consistent work over time. It's not like a one and done thing, like you hire a web designer and now you have a good SEO presence. That's also not how it works. So if this is you in the past or now, I don't want to shame you or make you feel bad or anything like that. But
because we did it too.
Yeah, because we did it too. But this is very common. And sometimes, website developers and designers, they're really making the website pretty, but it's missing the ease in navigation or enough sections to put in enough copy to really like show your personality and your value. So yeah, it can be tough. And I think you can create an amazing website very cheaply that will convert hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of elopement bookings. And then if you want to have fun later on and do a rebrand just for shits and giggles, have fun with that, but make sure you're making money first. So number 3 The third trait of highly successful elopement photographers is that they price for profit. And this is super, super important for many, many, many reasons. And I think, a lot of people work with so many price hagglers that are so vocal about how much they think you're overcharging, or you see on Threads or something, all these people who are like, that's ridiculous to pay that much money for a photographer or whatever. People who have small budgets are very vocal about how much they think photographers should be charging, but you cannot listen to them. And you need to price yourself in a way that's sustainable so that you can best serve your clients without overworking yourself. That's really what it comes down to.
And you don't want to just have a really expensive hobby.
Yeah. Sometimes when we look at the prices of photographers, and, there's going to be a season where you're investing a lot into your business and you're not making a lot of profit, but that has to shift consciously and actively at some point. And there's a lot of photographers out there that when you look at how hard they're working and how little they are paying themselves, they might as well just not work at all and just like hang out all day and read books and be like a stay-at-home dog mom, or something, or get a job at Starbucks or something, and they'd make way more money. And it's not just about padding your bank account, which I want for all of us, though. Like, I want us all to have a lot of money, but you're going to be able to better serve your clients if you're not overbooked, if you're booking the right people, which typically happens at higher price points, and you can replace your gear or your laptop if needed. You can stay an extra day in a hotel without freaking out. You can outsource the things that bring you stress and anxiety. All of these things require money and require charging higher prices in order to do those things and best serve your clients in that way. So sometimes I have to help people realize that the best photographer that they can be is somebody who is being paid well. And this doesn't mean you're greedy or overcharging or stealing money from people, or you're not worth it. The more you charge, the better you'll serve your clients, the better your business will do, the better your personal life will do. Everything does better when you aren't discounting yourself and catering to price hagglers that are very vocal about what they think you should be charging. Why are you smirking?
I'm going to give you a softball here, Megan, and just lob one up for you to go into our next successful trait. But how would you know if you're priced for profit? I'm feeling a little bit squirrely today.
Yeah, I'm liking it. Well, almost across the board, if you're charging less than $5,000 per elopement, you're going to be struggling with profit. And what we have done is collect data from hundreds of photographers, and they've gone through a cost of doing business spreadsheet where you put in not only your monthly expenses, but also your yearly expenses, maybe future expenses, like if you want to invest in education, or you want to do a styled shoot, or you want to buy new gear or something like that. And then the prices per each elopement, whether it's travel or just outsourcing editing or even just gas to get there. And what we have found is once you put in all those numbers, running a photography business is expensive AF, like shockingly expensive. And if you are charging less than $5,000 per elopement, then you are profiting half of that. $2,500 is going to your pocket, to your bank account, and the rest is going back into your business and your business expenses and taxes.
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus, yeah. Maybe a few $100 here and there or something. When you book a $5,000 elopement, you are not pocketing $5,000. You are pocketing $2,500 if you're running your business really well. So that's a shock to a lot of people. It was a shock to me when I first found that out, because I remember when I first booked like a $3,800 elopement, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so much money. Like, and yeah, if you want to profit half of what you're making, you really need to charge at least $5,000 or above. So just some thoughts to think about there. Hey photographer, do you dream of having a successful elopement photography business but don't know where to start? Imagine having the confidence to double or triple your prices, booking your calendar solid with dream couples and breathtaking locations, and feeling genuinely stoked about your business, your life, and your bank account? Then I'd like to introduce you to STOKED Academy, the go-to membership community for adventure elopement photographers that are ready to scale their businesses to 6 figures and beyond, all without hustling on social media. In STOKED Academy, you'll get access to everything you need to build a 6-figure business, like mastering marketing strategies, pricing for profit, elopement planning, worksheets, templates, spreadsheets, and so much more. Plus, you'll connect with a positive, supportive community of elopement photographers who are as passionate as you are. And the best part? It's insanely affordable, like less than the cost of a new memory card for your camera. Plus, as a member, you'll get to join me for a monthly group coaching call where we dive deep into strategies that will take your business to the next level. If this sounds awesome, then head over to stokedacademy.com to learn more about the membership and join us. I can't wait to see you in there. So, the fourth trait of successful elopement photographers is that they track their data and they make decisions based on facts, not feelings. And this is huge and pretty much overlooked by everybody, and why I wanted to mention it. You know, one of the reasons why we came up with $5,000 being the must-have price to profit is because we've done so many cost of doing business worksheets, and we've been tracking average booking rates and expenses and stuff like that. And then we also track website visitors and inquiries and where they're coming from and how many of those inquiries are booking calls and how many of those calls are booking us and at what prices. And we keep track of all of these things. And we keep track of keywords that we're trying to rank for and Pinterest clicks to our website and so many numbers. And that is how you improve things over time, by understanding your numbers and keeping track of them every freaking month without fail. We have been bad about this lately, but do as we say, not as we do. And when you track your numbers, you're running your business with eyes wide open. You're not blind. You have all the information, and that way you can make decisions based on facts. I remember one time, this might have been like last year, one of our mastermind members was like, oh my God, this month has been such a bad month, blah, blah, blah. I haven't gotten an inquiry in a week. And those are her feelings. But then when she actually went back and did her metrics for that month, she had actually booked 5 things. So our feelings cannot be trusted, you guys, because you'll have one off week and think your business is tanking. But then if you look at that past month as a whole, you might have been doing fine. But if you have not been tracking numbers and metrics and you think it's your prices because of the freaking price hagglers that love to talk about how your prices are so high, and you aren't keeping track of your expenses, and you don't know how much you're actually profiting, and you don't know how many website visitors you have or lack thereof, and you don't know where they're coming from, and you don't know who's actually booking you and where they're coming from and where they're finding you, you're just running your business completely blind. And you're going to worry more about the markets being saturated or whatever scary stuff you hear in Facebook groups or on the internet somewhere. But if you have the data and you track it over time and you understand when your biggest booking months are and when your slowest seasons are and where your money is going and where your inquiries are coming from, everything gets so much easier.
Yes, it gets so much easier. Again, it takes the emotion out of it, and you can make decisions and like point your business in the direction you want to go that's backed by data.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Logging this stuff isn't sexy. It's not something you're going to like post about on Instagram or like, brag to your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just not a sexy or like exciting thing, but it's crucial for running a successful business. And if you want to make money, we need to track what these numbers are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'll get on my soapbox as the ex-engineer and talk about data and spreadsheets and projections and things. But Yeah, it's super important. And if it's not for you, because I know, like, I'm thinking of a lot of very creative photographers that I know, and they're brilliant.
And they're
but
artists and
yeah,
creatives. Yeah.
but they may not be running the business the way that it could be run to make it more profitable. And so if that's something that, again, like gives you stress to like think about like opening a spreadsheet or a Google Sheets tab, then maybe that's something that you like outsource. It's important. And I think having like a knowledge of what that is super important, but like it needs to be done, whether it's you or your husband or your wife or your accountant or whoever you can, wrangle to do this. Like these numbers need to be crunched and need to be evaluated.
Yeah. And I'm a big proponent of outsourcing the things that do not bring you joy. But I'd almost counter argue that even if you don't like doing it, I don't care, do it. This is one of the things, like, I will happily embrace anybody outsourcing anything else, but these numbers are so important that you better be tracking them. I like to be fun and understanding and cheerleader and positive vibes and all that stuff. But if you aren't tracking your data, this is when I come in and I'm like, you better freaking start tracking your data.
Yeah, it's like it's your direct finger on the pulse of your business on where it's been and where it's going.
Yeah, exactly. And you can catch things quicker. If a contact form stops working or something, like you can be like, wow, I was getting tons of inquiries until now. And then now it's not. Like, you'll know when to troubleshoot. And you'll realize that every answer to your struggles is normally in these numbers, and they're really, really important. So this is when I get mean. Not even mean. I just get tough love, Megan. That's what it is. And I say, I don't care if you've never opened a spreadsheet in your life. You go open a Google Sheet and you start tracking every piece of number that you can think of for your business, and you do it today. Dang it.
Or even just your notes app on your phone will probably work just fine.
Yeah, I track a lot of coaching numbers in my notes app. So yeah, that's another important trait, is tracking data and making decisions based on facts. And that's not to say that you'll never have feelings again about your business. You'll just, when you have those feelings, especially negative feelings, then go look at your numbers. And that's what I normally tell my coaching students, like when they come to me and need to be talked off the ledge, or they're having a bad week, which happens every month. Then I'm like, okay, but what do the numbers say? Because that makes it easier to make informed decisions instead of just when you want to burn your business to the ground. And we have a podcast episode about that. So the fifth trait of successful elopement photographers is that they have a streamlined elopement planning process, because elopement planning is really a dance between you and your couples. It requires a lot of feedback from your couples. You're not creating their elopement in a bubble or in a vacuum. It requires a lot of back and forth. And if you don't have a process for this, it can end up taking up a lot of time and energy when it doesn't need to.
And if you don't have a consistent process, then you may not be delivering a consistent like experience to them. So like couple A may have like a home run, amazing time, perfectly smooth, everything super well oil machine. And couple B, if you're winging it, may get a subpar.
Yeah. And you may not even notice because you don't have a system and it's just all ad hoc, and like this couple might fall through the cracks or something. So standardization is key to giving every client the best experience possible. And this is also kind of goes back to trait number 1, where you really focus on one location at a time, because learning the whole elopement planning process it's a lot different than weddings. There's a lot more moving parts to it. And so this is something that can be really difficult to people once like they get all these bookings and they're like, yeah, I got 20 bookings. And it's like, oh shit, I have to plan all these elopements and I have no idea what I'm doing. That's where having a whole system and process for it is really, really important. Because ultimately, all of this is about giving our clients the best experience possible. We want them to feel taken care of. We want them to give us 5-star reviews. We want them to have the best elopement day possible. So I have to guide them through this process, make them feel heard, make them happy. And it's a whole thing. But what I am doing is there's a lot of back and forth, again, with elopement planning. So it can be a difficult thing to kind of teach people quickly. But what I'm going to offer you guys is my questionnaire. I'm going to post it in the show notes. You can get it for free. And it's the questionnaire that I send out right after a couple books me or books us. And so we can start their elopement planning process right away. So basically, once they sign the contract and pay the retainer, I send them a welcome email and I send them this questionnaire. And the questionnaire is detailed. There's a lot going on. And it asks them personal questions. It asks them more strategic questions. And it's really how I start the whole elopement planning process, is having them write all this stuff down. There's even like a rating system for how important things are for them. And it gives me a really good idea of what they want for their elopement day. And then once they return this questionnaire to me, then I typically come up with 1 or 2 plans for them and present that to them on a Zoom and get their live feedback on those plans. So I don't really do a whole bunch of emails back and forth, or I don't send like a location guide where it's like, here's 20 different locations in Colorado, read through all this stuff and pick one. I have them do a detailed questionnaire and then I pick out what's best for them. And they appreciate that. That's what they're paying me for, is to take out all the guesswork and homework for them. My elopement couples don't get homework except for the questionnaire. I tell them to do it like as a date night. So head to the show notes, grab this questionnaire for free, and see how I start the elopement planning process, because there's probably a bunch of questions on there where it's like, wow, I would never have thought to ask these questions, but I see now how that is beneficial and how I can better serve my clients with these questions. So in conclusion, there are 5 traits of highly successful elopement photographers. The first one is choosing one location. Number 2 is having a killer website. Number 3 is pricing for profit. Number 4 is tracking data. And number 5 is having a streamlined elopement planning process. And I know this was a long one, but again, I could write a textbook about all this stuff. So ultimately, I want you guys to go down to the show notes and grab my free questionnaire. Even if you already have your own, grab it and see what you can improve upon. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of Stoked. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend. If you're looking for more inspiring elopement photography content, check us out on Instagram at Megan MacPhail. And if you'd like to hear more about my business coaching and how I can personally help you hit 6 figures as an elopement photographer, then check out my website at www.meganmacphail.com.